Welcome to Haunted Horizons. A cabin. No stairs, no second floor, until the house builds one, just for you. The second floor that wasn't there. When Arman rented the cabin in the mountains, it was supposed to be simple. 2 nights, no signal, no people, no noise except wind and pine needles. A reset. The listing had 5 photos, all wide angles, all carefully cropped so the corners didn't show too much shadow. It bragged about one feature over and over. Cozy, single-level cabin. That mattered to Arman because his mother, Salma, couldn't handle stairs anymore. Not after the fall last winter. So when they arrived, and the cabin greeted them with one porch light glowing warmly through thick fog, Arman felt relief he hadn't felt in months. The key was under the doormat, exactly where the host said it would be. But the key was already warm. Not sun warm, not pocket warm. Warm like skin. Salma didn't comment. She stepped inside slowly, leaned on her cane, and took in the place with narrowed eyes like she could smell secrets. The living room was normal enough. A stone fireplace, a couch, a dusty radio on a shelf, and a hallway that led to 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. Arman dropped the bags and breathed in cedar and old ash. "See?" he said, forcing cheer. "Easy, no stairs." Salma nodded once, but her attention didn't settle. It kept drifting toward the hallway, like the dark down there was saying something in a voice too quiet to hear. They unpacked. They made tea. They tried to be normal. And then Arman noticed the first thing that didn't fit. A second cup already sat on the coffee table, though he hadn't poured it. Steam rose faintly from it, as if someone had just stepped away. Arman blinked, told himself it was his own mind trying to make horror out of peace. Salma stared at the cup for a long moment and said softly, "This house expects you." Arman laughed awkwardly. "Mom, come on." But Salma didn't laugh back. That night, the wind pushed fog against the windows so thick it looked like the cabin was underwater. The porch light made the outside glow like milk. Arman lay on the couch, because Salma wanted the bedroom, and he didn't argue. Somewhere past midnight, he woke to a sound that didn't belong in a single-level cabin. A slow creak, a pause, then another creak. Rhythmic, patient, like footsteps. On stairs. Arman sat up. The living room was dim, lit only by the hallway nightlight. He listened again. Creak. Pause, creak. From inside the hallway, deeper than the bedrooms, where there was only wall. Arman got up and walked toward it, bare feet cold on the floorboards. The sound stopped the moment he got close, like whatever made it didn't want to be caught. He reached the end of the hallway and stared at the blank wall. There was nothing there, no door, no attic hatch, no stairs. He turned back, and that's when he saw it. A narrow door, painted the same color as the wall, was now present where there had been nothing minutes before. No knob, only a small brass latch. Arman's pulse thudded. He stared at the door until his eyes watered, trying to convince himself it had always been there. It hadn't. He reached out, touched the latch. It was warm. Arman whispered, "Hello?" From the other side of the door came a sound that made his skin tighten. A soft exhale. Not wind. Breath. Then a voice. Low and familiar, like it had crawled out of a memory. "Arman, come upstairs." Arman froze, because that voice was his father's, and his father had been dead for 8 years. Behind him, Salma's bedroom door creaked open. Arman turned. His mother stood in the darkness, eyes sharp, cane in hand like a weapon. She looked at the new door without surprise. Then she said the worst possible thing in a calm voice. "It found you." Arman's mouth went dry. "What is that?" Salma didn't answer. The latch clicked by itself. The door opened inward, just a crack. Cold air spilled out, smelling of wet earth and old paper. And in that crack, Arman saw stairs, rising up into a darkness that shouldn't exist. A second floor that the cabin never had. A second floor that the cabin was now offering. His father's voice whispered again, closer. "Come up, I'm waiting." Salma stepped between Arman and the door and whispered through clenched teeth, "Whatever you do, don't look at the top step." Arman wanted to obey her. He really did. But grief is a hook, and the mountain cabin knew exactly where to sink it. His father's voice wasn't just accurate. It had the tiny details. The tired warmth, the little pause before saying his name, the way he used to sound when he was trying to make Arman feel safe. "I'm here," the voice said gently. "Just come upstairs." Salma raised her cane and slammed it into the floor once, hard. The sound cracked through the hallway like a gunshot. The whisper stopped for a beat. Then the voice returned. Still calm, still patient. Only now it carried a smile that Arman's real father never had. "Salma," it said softly, "you're still guarding him." Salma's face tightened. "You don't get to speak my name." Arman stared at her. "Mom, how does it know you?" Salma's eyes didn't leave the dark stair crack. "Because houses don't haunt people," she murmured. "People haunt houses." The door opened wider. The stairs were old wood, damp, and they rose too steeply for the cabin's roofline. That was impossible. Arman knew basic geometry. Yet there they were. Each step looked slightly different, as if it had been built from scraps of other staircases stolen from other places. Some were clean, some stained, some warped. And at the very top, Arman remembered Salma's warning and forced himself not to focus there. He held his gaze low. The cabin's hallway light flickered once, like a blink. Salma whispered, "It wants you upstairs because upstairs is where it keeps things." "Keeps what?" Arman asked. "Throat tight?" Salma swallowed. "Voices, memories, people who went looking." Arman shook his head hard. "So we leave. Right now." He grabbed the front door handle. It didn't move. He tried again. Harder. Nothing. Behind him, the stairs creaked. One single step. Like someone had put weight on it. Arman turned slowly. A shadow stood on the third step up. Not a full person. Not even a clear shape. More like the idea of someone wearing darkness. And from that shadow, his father's voice came again, almost tender. "Arman, why did you stop visiting my grave?" Arman's eyes stung instantly. Salma snapped, "Don't answer." But the question hit him in the chest. Because it was true. He hadn't visited in months. He'd been busy, tired, angry at how death kept taking things without asking. The shadow leaned forward slightly, as if it could smell the guilt. "Come upstairs," it whispered. "I'll forgive you." Arman's feet shifted without permission. Salma grabbed his wrist so hard her nails bit skin. "You go up there," she hissed, voice shaking with rage and fear, "and you won't come back down as yourself." Arman's breathing turned shallow. Then what do we do? Salma's eyes flicked to the staircase, then to the kitchen, then to the fireplace, like she was calculating with instinct instead of logic. Then she said something that chilled Arman more than any ghost story. We give it what it wants, but not what it expects. She pulled Arman toward the kitchen and shoved open a drawer. Inside were matches, a knife, and a small jar of salt the host had left. Salma grabbed the salt. Arman stared. Salt? That actually works? Salma shook her head. Not like people think. She walked back to the stairs, salt in hand, and raised her voice. Not loud, but clear. You want him upstairs? She called into the stairwell. Fine. The shadow on the step didn't move, but the air around it thickened like anticipation. Salma poured the salt in a slow line across the first step. Not a circle. Not a barrier around them. A line across the step, like a boundary. The shadow twitched. The voice sharpened slightly. What is that? Salma's mouth tightened. A measure? Arman didn't understand. Salma kept pouring step by step, drawing a thin line across each step she could reach without climbing. The air grew colder with each line, like the cabin disliked counting. Arman realized what she was doing and his stomach dropped. She was forcing the stairs to become something they hated, ordered, defined, counted. And the rules of the cabin were always about rules. It wanted chaos, it wanted reactions. It wanted people to answer and step into the dark without thinking. Salma was making it specific. The shadow on the third step hissed. Not a sound, more like pressure releasing. The voice lost its warmth. Stop! Salma didn't. She poured salt across the next step, then another. Her hands shook, but she kept going, jaw clenched like she was biting through fear. Arman whispered, Mom. Salma didn't look back. I fell last winter, she said quietly, like she was confessing. I told you it was ice. Arman's heart skipped. It was ice. Salma's voice cracked. No, it was this. She nodded at the staircase. I heard your father calling from upstairs. Just for a second, I looked up. Her eyes filled. And I fell because the house wanted to teach me that grief can move my feet. Arman's throat tightened. The shadow on the third step shifted, anger growing. Salma poured salt across one more step and whispered, I learned the lesson. The cabin responded. The stairs groaned like a living animal. At the top of the stairwell, something moved, heavy, slow, like a door opening in a place that shouldn't exist. Arman's instinct screamed to look. Salma's grip tightened on his wrist. Don't look, she hissed. Don't give it your eyes. The air grew thick with a presence that felt too big for wood and drywall. Then the voice spoke again. But now it wasn't just his father. It was a blend. His father, an old woman, a child, a stranger, layered together like the house was flipping through channels. Arman, it whispered. Just one step. We'll give you what you miss. Arman shook, tears slipping out despite him. Salma lifted her cane and slammed it onto the first step. The wood cracked, not splintered, cracked like ice. The stairwell shuddered. The shadow's shape wavered. Salma raised her cane again and hit the step harder. The crack spread. A deep, ugly line split the first step, running under the salt line like lightning. The cabin hated damage. Not because it cared about wood, because damage was something real. something it couldn't rewrite as easily as a whisper. The stairwell trembled like it was choking. Arman heard the strangest sound, like a house trying to inhale but finding its throat blocked. Salma struck again. The first step gave way with a loud snap. The stairwell collapsed inward, not like normal stairs breaking, but like the space itself folded. The darkness behind the door sucked inward like a vacuum. The voices all screamed at once, not in pain, in rage, like a plan had been interrupted at the last second. Arman stumbled backward, pulled by Salma. The stair door slammed shut by itself, and when Arman blinked just once, he realized the door was gone. Only a blank wall remained. The hallway light steadied. The air warmed slightly. The cabin became a cabin again. Arman stood shaking, staring at the wall as if it might grow a door any moment. Salma's breathing was ragged. She leaned on her cane like it had become heavier. "It's over?" Arman whispered. Salma's eyes didn't relax. "No," she said softly. "It's postponed." Arman swallowed hard. "Then how do we leave?" Salma pointed to the front door. Arman ran to it and yanked. This time it opened. Cold mountain air rushed in like freedom. Fog poured past the porch steps. They didn't pack. They didn't turn off lights. They didn't say goodbye. They walked down the mountain road until their legs burned, and the trees finally thinned enough for signal to return. Only when Arman's phone buzzed alive did he stop and look back. The cabin sat quiet on its shelf of rock. The porch light was off now. The windows were dark. It looked empty, almost normal. Then Arman's phone displayed one new notification. No number, no sender. A single sentence. "We can build stairs anywhere you remember." Arman's breath caught. Salma didn't look back at the cabin. She looked at Arman, eyes tired but sharp. "Now you understand," she said. Arman whispered. "Understand what?" Salma answered in a voice that sounded like a warning carved into stone. "Some homes don't get haunted. They get hungry." The end.